Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our Malicious Compliance. In today's episode, cancel all of my services. Okay, smiley face. Have fun working 5 jobs DM. Alcohol-free alcohol. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Cancel all of my services. Okay, smiley face. I had worked at a telecommunications store for a few years, and as someone who has worked in all sorts of retail, I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt that telco has the worst customers, but every now and then you get back at the worst by giving them exactly what they want. We had a local small business owner that had several services with us: mobile phones, broadband, landlines, the works. He thought that since he had a lot of services it meant that he could do what he wanted and the rules did not apply to him. This included getting behind on his bills, complaining about late fees, and absolutely losing it if any services were suspended/restricted. Bear in mind that this only happens after 3 months of overdue bills. If any of these were to happen, he would stomp in, yell, and carry on. Now in a lot of telco stores we are just that, stores. We can only do very little when it comes to accounts, especially business accounts. I know it's ridiculous, and if we had the capabilities to do even a few account things in store, it would have made so many people's lives easier. So we would process a payment and then call up the accounts department to reinstate the services or unrestrict them. One week in particular he came in all smiles and shaking hands. He didn't even mind waiting in line for the people in before him to be served. Normally he would storm up to any consultant even if they were with customers already being served. I had the luck of being the first one free to serve him. He goes on a long speech about how he is expanding his business and needs several new phones for new staff he is hiring. I congratulate him and go about the process of getting them activated. We hit a problem early on. Surprise, surprise, he has overdue bills and the system cannot apply new services to an account that is overdue. This does not mean a bill has been issued, it means it is past its due date. He is livid, saying he needs those services. I get on the phone with the accounts team and they are willing to waive the default wait time of 3 business days after an account is settled before applying new services. He wasn't having a bar of it and said he wants the services and will not be paying a cent today. I inform him that it simply cannot be done, literally impossible in our system to do it. He starts yelling, saying that he wants to cancel his services and take them elsewhere. I tell him that it is not something we can do in store and he will need to contact the business accounts department and they can assist him in moving his services elsewhere. He stomps off and I thought this would be the end of it. Oh, how wrong I was. The very next day, as soon as the store opens, he is there waiting, red-faced and on the warpath. Being the most senior person during the shift, I dealt with him. He yells about being on the phone for ages, being told they advise not to cancel but to go to another telco and port his services. I'm guessing they didn't explain it too well, as porting means to transfer your services to another provider, keeping the same numbers and having minimal if any interruption of service. I explained to him very plainly about what porting meant and that all he needed to do was go to another carrier, sign up his services, give them the numbers he wants brought across, and once they do we automatically cancel his services on our end once the other provider takes ownership. Simple, right? Wrong. He refused to leave the store until his services were cancelled. Time for my malicious compliance. While it wasn't something we could do in store, we had manual paperwork for lots of things in case of systems going down, compatibility issues, etc. So I go through our internal server to find manual paperwork for account/service cancellations and print it off, filling everything out on it ready to go. I request 2 forms of ID which I need to photocopy that needs to be attached to the paperwork and get him to sign. informing him in no uncertain terms that if he goes ahead with this his services will be deactivated within 2 business days and will no longer function. He was fine with this, saying once that happened he would go elsewhere. He signed and I went about contacting accounts, faxing the paperwork through, and they processed it all and forwarded me the confirmation for our in-store records. 2 days later, I once again open the store and he is there waiting, red-faced, and the second he sees me start screaming at me that none of his services are working and his company cannot get anything done, no phones, no internet, etc., and that he is going to sue us for lost income and everything else. I go out the back and pull out the paperwork, going over it with him, going over what I told him the other day. He no longer has any services with us, they are now cancelled and he will be unable to sign up any new services or potentially reactivate any services until his overdue account is paid. I take him to a computer and try to access his account, showing him it no longer exists on our end and there is literally nothing I can do. He gets up angry but defeated and leaves yelling, "We have now lost a big customer, hadn't we already? Have fun working 5 jobs DM." So I work at a small store. My manager quit, the AM got fired for stealing money, 2 other employees quit because of the new workload and I'm now stuck doing all of it. So I told my DM I'll expect a temporary increase to $29 per hour plus overtime to account for the extra work outside my job description. The amount isn't random. It's the sum of mine and my manager's wages. Expect me to do the work of 5 people. Pay me. He says no and that I'm not expected to do any more than my agreed upon job description. His exact words were, "Just keep doing your job. Nobody is expecting you to do the others' jobs as well." So I do just that. I don't do the deposits, the security briefings, the sales reports, the containment inspections, etc. All tasks that are outside my job description. So my DM gets mad saying none of the work is done. "You told me you were not going to approve my temporary wage increases because you were not expanding my job tasks. Therefore I did only my job." He threw a fit about me, obviously misunderstanding him, and I stopped and told him, "I didn't misunderstand you. I told you I would not do extra work without extra compensation." I should also mention I went from working 15 hours a week to 75. He called me lazy and greedy because I just want to make a buck. Yes. That is indeed how this whole employment thing works. You need job done, I agree to do job for payment, you pay me to do job. So I quit. Have fun working the entire store by yourself without overtime because you're an exempt employee DM. Alcohol-free alcohol. This is a short one. Back in the 90s, I was in a club with my social circle. Now, I am a complete lightweight when it comes to drinking, so I was often the designated driver in our group. That is, the guy who would not be drinking that night so he could drive everyone else home. On this particular night, it was $1 pots and spirits. A pot being a small beer, and spirits meaning cheap, watered-down spirits with a mixer, i.e. bourbon and Coke. As I was not drinking alcohol that night, I walked up to the bar and asked for a Coke with ice. Bartender says $3. I said, "But it's dollar pots and spirits tonight," and she said no, that's only pots and spirits. I then pointed out that I was designated driver and surely she understood that the post-mix Coke was cheaper to pour anyway. Nope, wouldn't budge. I then asked for a bourbon and Coke, with no bourbon. She says no worries, pours me my drink, and charges me $1. I stared at her and she legitimately didn't seem to notice anything wrong with the interaction. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.